Hello everyone, this is Cenerex from the Order 66 Hellions, and today I'm doing a video talking about how to improve your guild's territory war performance before territory war even begins. On the itinerary today, we're first going to be going through who this is for and why territory war is so important. Second, I'm going to go through my credentials, why I'm talking about this and why this is so important to me. Third, I'm going to talk about 2 territory war misconceptions. Fourth, I'm going to go through some strategies and tips for territory war improvement. Fifth, I'm going to have a conclusion based on my discussion. And then sixth, I'm going to do a little bit of self-promotion, as always. Let's get right into it. So first, who is this for? I made this primarily targeting guild leaders and officers, as well as members who are attempting to make their guild more competitive in territory war. My strategies can work for any guild between 100 to 400 million GP, as my guild used to be 100 million GP when I first joined it, and now we're all the way up to 400 million GP. And these are some of the strategies that we used in order to build a very successful territory war record and base. An active player base is necessary. If you can't get 25 out of 50 people to join territory war, then this video is not going to solve those problems. And then an ability to recruit members. I understand recruiting is a little bit slow at this time in the game, as there's a lot more people leaving than joining, but overall, if your recruiting is decent, then this video is going to be helpful to you. So first, we're going to talk about why territory war is so important. There's really 2 kinds of guilds that have existed in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. First is a territory war guild versus a territory battle guild. Here's a little bit of a note on them. Territory war guilds are usually great at territory battles, meanwhile territory battles guilds are usually awful at territory war. Now, why does this happen? This happens because territory war is the best indicator of guild activity and competence. If your guild has a lackluster territory war record, that means your guild is likely not very competent, competitive, or active. Territory battles, on the other hand, is indicative of your guild's ability to relic characters and deploy them, which does not necessarily mean that your members have any sort of skill in the game. So if your guild does very well in territory battles but not very well in territory wars, that means that you probably are running with a group of players who are not necessarily the most competitive. A good territory war record is the best indicator of guild health and competitiveness. In my experience playing this game, as a more competitively minded player, I would never join a guild that has below a 50% territory war win record, as these guilds are not going to be nearly as active or as motivated as most players desire. Talking about my credentials, I'm Senrex. I'm a 7.1 million GP account in the Kyber 4 League in Grand Arena. On average, I get 206 banners on offense and 231 defensive banners. In my guild, I'm in the bottom 10 for Galactic Power, but I'm around 25th in GAC, so I perform decently well. And I'm top 10 in Territory War. I am an extremely competitive Territory War person. I'm in 3 guilds. My main guild, which is the account that I just described, is the Order 66 Hellions. We're 400 million Galactic Power, 399 if you really want to be specific about it. And we are 31-3 in Territory War, which is an amazing record, probably the best record out of any guild in our GP bracket. Second, I'm in Jabba Houtini with one of my alt accounts. I joined this guild as a lower level player specifically because of the amazing territory war record. They run an 104-3 territory war record in their history. This record is insanely good, and it means that I'm going to be getting the best rewards and that the players around me are super active just like myself. Thirdly, Creators of the Lost Dragon. This is a guild that just recently started that I've been helping out. But what most new guilds don't have that this guild has is an extremely active player core that allows them to do extremely well in in Territory War. Each of the 3 victories that the guild has had in Territory War, which is their first 3 Territory Wars, they have more than quadrupled their opponent's scores, and this is a really good sign for the future. Alright, let's talk about the Territory War misconception. The biggest misconception about Territory War is that the matchmaking is unfair. You need to get this notion out of your head. The matchmaking is not unfair in most cases. You can be paired up with guilds that are outside of your Galactic Power bracket. Yes, this does happen. But what will never happen is you will never be grossly mismatched against a guild based on Galactic Power. The biggest discrepancies that I've ever seen is that a guild will be 20 to 30 million active GP in difference. Now, I know what you're thinking, Rex. I'm in a 300 million GP guild, and one time we faced off against a guild that was 450 million GP, and they absolutely destroyed us. Well, I'm going to address that in a second. This is a misconception that a lot of people have because they see how much GP their guild has on StarWars.GalaxyofHeroes.gg, and they compare it to their opponent's galactic power in their guild. If you look at the StarWarsGalaxyofHeroes.gg recruiting site, as opposed to the StarWarsGalaxyofHeroes.gg main site, it shows the active GP that both guilds have in Territory War. Active GP literally means how much galactic power each guild has in joined players. The real problem that most people are facing as to why they're getting destroyed by a much higher GP guild is sandbaggers. So for example, 500 million galactic power guild only has 350 million galactic power of their players join in Territory War. This artificially deflates the amount of squads that they're going to have to place per zone, and it screws over guilds because those 350 million GP worth of players are going to outmatch any guild that has 50 out of 50 join that has 350 mil GP, because on average they're going to have a lot more galactic legends and a lot more skill because they are a top of the spear guild. So if you're ever getting destroyed by a guild that looks like they have so much more galactic power than you, just know that they're probably sandbaggers. Let's talk about strategies for improving. The first and greatest strategy for improving your guild's territorial performance is a Discord. If you do not have a Discord and you are playing Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes in the year of 2023, that is a problem. Discord allows for more effective communication about offensive and defensive placements, as well as it allows officers to plan defensive and offensive strategies. The in-game chat is not good for this. Lastly, if you have a Discord and all of your players are in it, it shows an increased interest in your players, meaning that players that are willing to join a Discord and communicate with their other guildmates are more likely to be more competitive and thus helpful to the guild's overall spirit. So you should try your best to have all of your members join a guild Discord. Second, we're going to talk about participation. So first, it's important to note that if a player joins Territory War and they do not participate, this is a net negative for the guild, as their galactic power is put into consideration when matching an opponent. So say you have an 8 million GP player and they do not participate, it's going to increase your active GP by 8 million in the game mode, and then match you up with an opponent's guild that is 8 million GP higher because they're joined. But if they fail to participate, you get none of the benefit of having that roster in and all of the negatives in getting a tougher opponent. So you, as a guild leader, should really be measuring the bottom members in your guild every Territory War to see if the lowest banners in the guild are participating. So I'd recommend after every Territory War scrolling down to the bottom 10 to 20 people that participated and taking screenshots of those players to see if they are actually doing their best and scoring banners. If someone joined Territory War and did not participate, this will hinder the war effort overall. So there's two ways to solve this. First, you can require participation. Our guild has a strike system, or some guilds just boot people that join Territory War and fail to participate. This is for more higher end, more competitively mined guilds, but if you're more like around the 150 to 200 million GP range, I'd recommend making Territory War optional to join. It's better to have a player not join Territory War than join and not participate. So you should encourage players that are joining Territory War and not participating to just not join at all, because that's going to make your active players that participate in Territory War have a much better chance against the opponents. Second, you could make Territory War optional and make players sit out if they're not interested in participating. This will really help you overall. Let's talk about strategies for improving Grand Arena. So I've said this a million times to the players in my guild. GAC is the #1 indicator of who's going to win a Territory War, because it encourages the 3 C's. It improves players' counters, meaning the more you participate in GAC, the more you're going to have the ability to counter specific teams. It improves the competence of players, as players that participate in GAC are going to understand what doesn't work more than players that don't. So if you run a squad in GAC and you get absolutely stomped on, you're not going to run that team in Territory War because you already know that it doesn't work. And lastly, it improves competence. If you run a counter 10 times in GAC and you know it always works, and then you take it up in Territory War, you're going to have the confidence to succeed, and this is really going to help you get through zones quicker. A great example is last Territory War, our guild had 394 million GP. Our opponent had 405 million GP, and we had less of every Galactic Legend except for Sith Eternal Emperor. But in comparison, our Grand Arena average was around 3,100, meanwhile theirs was 2,800. And they got obliterated. We doubled their score, and in our high GP bracket that is nearly unheard of, we full cleared them, and they did not even get through a single zone. So guilds that have a higher GAC score, in most cases, are going to win those Grand Arenas. It's like 99% of the time, whichever guild has a higher GAC average is winning that territory war. Preloading teams. So a lot of people aren't aware that this is a problem, particularly in lower level guilds, so this kind of runs rampant. What happens in preloading a team is when you take a squad into battle, an opponent's squad, and you lose, if you do not back out or put your phone on airplane mode, this is going to cause the opposing team to have preloaded turn meter the next time a player in your guild goes to battle them. I've got two examples here. You can tell the squad has preloaded turn meter by the fact that a little bit of health and protection are taken off the characters, such as in these two squads, but they're still fully standing. So basically what this means is next time someone attacks either one of these squads, the entire opposing team is going to be a lot faster than anticipated, and your counters are not going to work as effectively. So if your guild's looking to get better at territory war, you should really look into options and spread information to the members of your guilds about how to prevent preloading, as this is going to be typically a huge problem for lower level guilds that they're facing. So there's two really great ways to prevent preloading. Is if you're going to lose a battle, just back out, just quit the battle. Double tap out of the app, quit, or just hit the retreat button. You're not going to preload. Or you can put your phone on airplane mode before the battle starts. That way, if you get steamrolled by your opponents, it will lag out and it won't work, and then you won't be preloaded. It will still count as a loss, but that's just fine because, you know, if you lose to the opponent's squad and preload it, you're putting your guild in a lot worse of a scenario to lose banners and more valuable teams than if you just quit a battle. Because if you quit a battle, you're going to lose the team that you used, and you're going to lose 5 to 10 banners depending on where you were. But it's not going to cause the next person grief when they're trying to complete it. When they're trying to defeat that squad. I'm going to do a little bit of a rapid fire round here. First, I got a comparison between our guild and the last guild we faced. Datacron's fleets, mod score, and viable Galactic Legends, and territory war Omicrons. These are 5 things that you really, really, really need to work on if your guild wants to be better at territory war. I'm going to go over these more extensively in my offensive and defensive guides for each of the GP brackets. I've got a little bit more information about that listed later. So typically, what I'd say is good Datacrons, territory war Omicrons, fleets, and mods can really make a difference. Now, this guild outmatched us in Galactic Power, but we really outmatched them in all of the stats that were important outside of Galactic Power. We had more relics, we had more mods, we had better Datacrons and better mods, and our average player was performing better in the game modes that matter, such as fleet rank and arena rank, showing that our players were more active. A few good territory war Omicrons can really, really, really swing the favor of the match in your favor. Now, I know what you're thinking, does it really mean that much? But a great example is the Juhani Omicron. Juhani goes from being a fairly useless character in most game modes to being an absolute menace in territory war once you put a simple Omicron on her. Poggle the Lesser in the Geonosians go from being a D tier team to an S tier team with 1 Omicron, and this is even before relics are considered. General Grievous and the droids go from being a very easily counterable team to one that can stack off offense so quickly and is incredibly difficult to kill without using an extremely valuable counter. So these are just a few things to consider. I'm going to touch on each of these more in my future guides. So let's talk about my conclusion. Territory war is really a team effort, so communication is key. If your guild lacks communication, you're not going to be winning any territory wars. Active guilds do better in territory wars. This is just a general rule of thumb. So to do better in territory war, you want to increase your guild's activity. And increasing your guild's activity is going to help you excel in other game modes that are not just territory wars. So I would really recommend working on getting your guild more active with the tips that I've given you. Second, a higher GP does not mean a better player, but a higher GAC score does, because this is the overall best indicator of a player's competence in the game. So a better GAC score player is going to outperform a player that has more GP any day of the week. What's coming next? I'm going to have a defensive and offensive guides for each of the 4 Galactic Power brackets that I have listed below, as well as a video on how to perform your territory war performance as an individual and what to look for in a guild. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video today, and I think it was pretty informative. As always, I'm doing roster views, so you can leave your Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes.gg link in the description below if you're interested in one of those, and I'll have it out for you as soon as possible. I'm making 2 as we speak. Lastly, a little guild plug. If you're tired of not getting any Reva shards, consider joining my guild, the Order 66 Hellions. Discord link in the description below. We are the guild that gets the most Reva shards under 400 million galactic power, and we do incredibly well in territory war. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.